Cool. All right, so I'll show you what I'm doing. I know authorization bearer is one thing that I wanted to show. So with Tenable, and by the way, this is private. So I don't mind showing this, and it doesn't have any customer data or company data. I'll keep showing this, and I'll stop in about 5 or 10 minutes. But y'all feel free to stop me or ask questions. By the way, keep the session going to 109. Okay. So what I wrote here is, well, this was possible. Basically, here's how you connect to PSTenable. So what happens here in this line is I wrote a wrapper around invoke REST method that will log you in. So the dash register switch actually caches the token that you need. And then every single other call just uses that existing token. So Stephen, the question you had is authorization bearer. Let me show what I'm doing. So connect PSTenable is the initial function that you run to get this information, and then let me show you my private function that I'm using. So I actually wrote a private function called invoke PSTenable REST, which is actually a wrapper around invoke REST method. And what it does is actually builds the parameters that you need every time. Instead of having to put all that crap in every single call. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm building my REST method with different values, right? So my headers will always be what's required to query this API. And then my web session is my cookie that I can use to continue making calls. And then if I want to pass in the body, here's my key call, and here's how I request it. So if I go to example, I thought I had invoke or the authorization bearer stuff. Do I? No, I don't. But it's the same concept as Steven. You connect to something and you store it, right? You store the token, and then you pass that token into the header. Um, so yeah, I don't. I thought I had code that does that authorization bearer stuff. Let me go to Kevin's stuff. Kevin. There we go. He does some stuff with that. Thought he did. No, not that. No. Okay, never mind. How do you handle refresh tokens? Oh yeah, that's a good question. So let's say your token expires. What I did here is I wrote a function called I wrote a private function called invoke PSTenable token renewal or token status. So what I do in every public call is this. In the begin block, I put token X. I put this code. So invoke PSTenable token status will return token expiry equals true or false. And if it's true, as in my token expired, I'll call a function invoke PSTenable token renewal. And those are wrappers around invoke REST method. So if I come here, this is my status, right? So I'm submitting a call to an endpoint token, and that token is essentially returning a specific response, a specific property. So if this release session is true, then I'm outputting true, else false. So if for some reason it is false, I just do invoke PSTenable token renewal, which will get me a new token. And then in this case, I'm using Powershell Framework to store the token in a variable. And then yeah, that overrides it at each time. So Jason, Steven, you guys have questions around that? That's what I at least. I mean, that's how I handle the token refresh thing. So every single code, like even if I go here, yeah, it has that in the very beginning, so that this won't continue unless this stuff works. All right. You see an issue with using the output of
Oh,
curl?
you've mentioned, I saw you're using the PS framework.
Yes.
Yeah, so mention that module too.
Yeah. So I'm using PowerShell Framework. This is another module created by, what was his name? Yeah, Friedrich Weinman, MVP, and Microsoft PFE. Um, and I got into his stuff. A lot of fun. So he has PS Framework is a lot of advanced coding, and he has a lot of different videos on this as well. So what I use his stuff for is just to store the tokens in configuration using his method. So if you could share it. Thanks for that copy. Is PowerShell. I got the update team stats working. Thank you so much. There's a ton of Authentication Bear in there too. Andy, cool. Watching PowerShell API. Awesome. It's midnight. Thank you, Andy, for joining. That's awesome. I have an example around a bear token if you want me to send you a link. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Yeah, or Wes, if you want to get on and
Yeah,
share
Wes,
too.
post it. Yeah, yeah.
Or you want to get on and share too, because
Yeah.
after hours, or even might even keep this in and kind of video editing. We can do that too. If you want to join in, you're more than welcome. I can the other way around.
Yeah, I
Where'd you
mean,
get the microphone?
I'm more than happy to.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll stop sharing.
Trying to make you a presenter.
Yeah. So disclaimer, I work for Zerto. And what
Oh,
I've
cool.
done is we have an API, and I've been working on writing a wrapper for our API, like some of the examples that you guys showed. We have an analytics website that we publish to our customers, and it uses bearer token authentication. So this is my connect to analytics wrapper that uses it specs a PS credential object to take those credentials, and then it actually passes that as the body is the name and the credential as the body into my wrapper method to invoke the request. What it gets back is a result, header, and when we're doing that, it actually sets as part of the invoke DA REST request. It sets this script level variable of the header, so I can just grab that real quick. In the body is an authorization, and all I have to do is really build it. So you just take the bearer, and then essentially I format it into a way where it's, uh, I take the result and then the body piece and just kind of stitch it together. Um, typically, when you are looking for a bearer token, so we have to use the Open API spec for this documentation. This is going to talk about how you send it across, and then this is the response. So the response in JSON is actually the type bearer and then the token. So you could actually get the bearer piece and the actual token piece all from the data that gets returned to you, and then stitch that together into your header. So that's kind of what I'm doing here is I'm adding that into the global headers that we use. Jonathan was talking about how he builds that all the time. So all the template data that you need to send every time, like that's all in there. What I'm doing is similar, where I'm adding that bearer token, so that bearer token then gets sent every time after that.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a great way of doing it.
That's
Script
pretty cool.
scoping is a lot better of a way to do it than using a third-party module. I just wanted to use third-party module. But yeah, he's script scoping.